Hello and welcome back. We're looking at theme number 6 as far as our crash course is concerned, and on theme number 6 there is a lot of discretion which is required. So let's quickly understand what it is that we're going to be covering and to what an extent. So theme number 6 is essentially structure, organization and functioning of the executive and the judiciary, ministries and departments of the government. I have already given you detailed PDF notes on this. I released it a few days ago. You'll find it on a link which is mentioned in the description box, because most of this which is asked here is very standard. There isn't a lot of innovation. There isn't a lot of in-depth analysis that is usually asked from this area. So there are essentially two sets of questions that have been asked. Keep in mind that ordinances, separation of powers, judicial review, activism are essentially subsets of separation of powers. So in 2014 there was a question for 12.5 marks. Instances of President's delay in communicating death sentences has come under public debate as a denial of justice. Should there be a time limit for the President to accept or reject certain petitions? Now this was asked in a very specific context in the current affairs, where the President's power of pardoning was under scrutiny, in the fact that the number of cases with respect to death penalty was starkly on the rise without adequate resolution, despite review petitions and others being filed on it. I must also most honorably mention Project 39A, which is a leading think tank based out of the National University here in Delhi, which does some phenomenal work, and you can find some extraordinary data on death penalty as far as Project 39A is concerned. The next question which was asked was in 2014 itself, and this question is something that we have sort of covered in the context of parliamentary form of government, and the question was again for 12.5 marks. The size of the cabinet should be as big as the government work justifies and as big as the PM can manage as a team. Now, how far is the efficiency of the government then inversely related to the size of the cabinet to discuss? I must also very categorically admit that this is a very standard question and would have been a cakewalk for students who would have had public administration as an optional, because this as a question seemed closer to public administration, and also the fact that the new pattern was just coming into shape, and of course there would be certain aberrations here, and this was basically a question of big cabinet versus small cabinet, and how big cabinet becomes difficult to manage and all of those things, and simple team management answers could have sort of answered this question with enough examples. But when we see to things more recently, 2017 and 2018, 2017 was the question on the Supreme Court's judgment on the National Judicial Appointments Commission, which was under severe criticism for them to have declared the NJAC unconstitutional as independence of judiciary's basic structure. So the question was whether A, this was okay or not, and 2, if this is okay, why is this okay? If this is not okay, why is this not okay? And what more could we have done sort of to streamline judicial appointments? Now this sort of contemporarily becomes important because there have been the highest number of appointments in the last year to the Supreme Court. We also have a record number of women Supreme Court judges. So Supreme Court appointments as a larger concept is sort of important. Then in 2018 there was a standard theoretical question on under what circumstances can the financial emergency be proclaimed by the President, and what consequences would follow if such a declaration remains in force. Now it's very interesting to see that there isn't really the topic of governor as such mentioned, and I haven't seen, at least ever since the pattern has changed, a dedicated question on analyzing the office of the governor. Perhaps in the center state context one could look at the office of the governor per se, but I really haven't seen the question on governor as such. So what should our focal areas be? Of course we could do an emergency review because this is standard, and with respect to judiciary we should look at pendency, we should look at all India judicial services, we should also look at contempt of court and an analysis of it as it is important, and we should also look at Supreme Court appointments as a whole. As far as the format of government is concerned, this is extremely important. Just to be on the safer side, in the notes I have given an analytical topic on the governor and the constitutional position of the governor, with enough examples on the recommendations or the summary of recommendations which have been suggested to make the governor's office more transparent, more accountable, and give credit to why the makers of the constitution wanted a governor in the first place in the way they wanted the governor to be. Apart from that, of course, an emergency review with the context of some controversial amendments and an analysis of how provisions to the emergency can also be improved should be covered. So if under this topic, as long as you're able to do this, it is more than enough. Please bear in mind that I've also included the notes of the other themes as well, given that the mains is just around the corner, and in maximum a day or so I'll also release the data sets and very updated Supreme Court judgments that could be used, along with one page for each governance topic, and that should be it as far as the paper 2 is concerned. So that's that, and good luck, and you don't need to worry about it. You can just download the PDF from here, and you should be able to study everything as far as theme number 6 is concerned. Thank you.